All right, I'm on the road again, guys. So you know what that means. I'm gonna be driving. That's what it means. Just driving right now. I'm heading to a friend's house, and I'll show you what I'm doing when I get there. Alright, so we made it out to my buddy's house. And I know you're still wondering who's my buddy. Well, it's the infamous Will with Honeybee Hollow, right?
Honeybee Hollow Gardens.
Honeybee Hollow Gardens. Y'all got 2 channels now, right?
Honeybee Hollow Gardens and Honeybee Hollow Home.
Yeah. So he does the real quiet, just nonchalant, chill stuff. And Taylor does more like recipes and...
Yeah, she's got her own style.
Yeah, she's got her own style. So
usually I do the chill stuff.
Yeah. You remind me, we watched this channel, and Chastity calls it some kind of grandma. I don't know, but it's just like, there's like no talking, real chill music.
Yeah, I didn't even expect that. Grandmas do like it because the words just pop up on the screen.
Yeah, so it's super simple.
It works good for them.
But yeah, so we're out here, and he's doing log inoculation.
Shiitake log.
Shiitake logs. So nobody's here yet, which is great because that way I don't feel so insecure about pulling the camera out and not knowing anybody. So he's going to take us around real quick and just show us like what he's got going and like what we're going to be doing and go from there. Yeah. Give us a grand tour.
What do you want to see? Everything?
Well, yes. Well, first show us the logs and what we're going to be doing.
Okay, these are the logs.
These are the
right
logs.
Here. I cut those about a week ago.
What kind of logs are these?
Mostly oak.
Okay. Is that better for shiitake around here?
They say white oak's the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a couple white oaks, but not a lot of white oaks grow here.
Right.
So it's a lot of red oaks, white oaks, and I think there's some black cherries in there too.
Nice.
But yeah, you cut these about a week and you let them sit because they have natural fungicides in the wood, and then you inoculate them. So we cut those last Sunday, and today's the next week Sunday. So, all right. What we do is we take them over here and we drill them with this angle grinder. I'm gonna do a little video on this too, but yeah, we drill holes with the angle grinder, and see the little holes, space them out like 3 or 4 inches, and stagger them.
Mm-hmm.
This is your shiitake spawn right here, and it's sawdust that's been inoculated with shiitake mycelium. Mm-hmm. And what you do is you put it in one of these containers, and then this right here is like a little divot thing. We'll show you later in the video. But you put the spawn in here, put it in a little container, and you smack it, and it goes in this thing right here, and then you push it into the log like that.
Oh, okay. And
what happens is this spreads from here into the log over time. So.
How long does it take for these to start growing?
It depends on the diameter of the log. If it's a small log, you might have shiitakes within like 6 months. If it's a log like that diameter. Mm-hmm. But if it's a bigger log, like that one over there, there's another one over there that's bigger, it'll probably take like 18 months.
Wow.
So
is there like a certain time that these grow better? I mean,
these are a warm variety right here. I have a lot of cold varieties down there.
Uh-huh.
I actually have some growing.
And that mushroom mountain, that's semi-local to us.
They're in Easley.
Easley, yeah.
So if you're in the southeast, I would use Mushroom Mountain. North Spore is good as well, but I think they're out of Washington State.
Yeah, so these are more like focused on our general area.
Yeah, it's kind of like heirloom seeds that you get from a little gardener around here. They're going to do better than. I have one variety that actually is wild from here. I've never found wild shiitakes, but apparently they do exist.
No.
But yeah, you can expect production. So every inch in diameter is 1 year of production out of it.
Okay. So these will grow, so you'll harvest some and then they'll grow back and then harvest them
for
like
the
a
logs,
year or so.
The logs down there, like the cold variety, in the winter I'll get a mushroom here or there every 2 weeks, and then I'll get a larger flush, like a pound off 2 or 3 logs, like once every 2 months or so.
Okay. And
maybe 3 times in a winter.
So we brought wax. I brought some beeswax with me that we had left over for making some lip balm or chapstick one time. And so what kind of wax? I remember you said to bring some wax, and we got wax here.
Yeah, you can do beeswax. This is just food grade wax right here.
Okay.
And after you put the sawdust spawn in there,
you
make sure the wax is real hot. Once you put the sawdust spawn in there, we're gonna take the wax and we put it over the hole to keep the moisture in.
Oh, okay.
If you don't keep the moisture in, and it keeps little like slugs and stuff from going, because the slugs like to eat this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The mushroom yard that we're gonna add to.
All right, so here, I'm gonna start over here if you don't mind, because this is what the logs are gonna look like after the wax is on them.
Yeah.
You got your plugs in there, you got your wax. And so does the wax break down, and that's when the mushrooms start coming out?
Eventually, yeah. It'll take long enough for it to break down to where the mushrooms can colonize the log. So what these are doing right here is they're colonizing. This is a very important step. Don't skip it if it's your first time doing it, because I tried to skip it and it didn't work. But the idea is here is you keep them close to the ground, right? Because there's more moisture closer to the ground. So this one right here might take a year to colonize because it's huge. Right. I also should have waxed the end of this log right here. Specifically the larger logs, I feel like you need to wax because they'll end up splitting. Gotcha. But I don't really wax the smaller ones. So you want to keep them close to the ground, just not on the ground? Yeah, you don't want to put them on the ground because there's mycelium and stuff in the ground that'll get into it, and it's wild, and it'll colonize it before the shiitake will be able to colonize it. So you want to keep them close to the ground, but not on the ground. I use these pallets. You don't want to put them like on an old log or something, like say, because an old log will have mushrooms in it too. Right. Like there's old logs over there that I used in the past, and I just threw them to the side. So you kind of want them like on something treated, that way it's not treated. A piece of, maybe like a propped up piece of metal. This is a new pallet. I wouldn't put them on like a really old pallet, because even really old pallets can have mycelium and stuff in them. Yeah. So they sit like this until they're colonized. Once they're colonized, they look. Yeah, how do you know when they're colonized? Especially when they're waxed, it shows up more. Right. You see the white? That's the mycelium. But these were laid out like that for about 6 months, and then we propped them up. These were done exactly a year ago almost. Oh, cool. See the wax is almost degraded? Yeah. See how it's, and almost, the wax almost looks like the rest of the moss or stuff. Lichens. Yeah, if you want to make sure you put the wax. When you have other people helping you, got to really make sure that they know what they're doing, and make sure you cover the hole completely with wax, because if it doesn't, something will get in there and it'll take out the moss. Like right here, they probably didn't cover it well enough. There's another one right there, and it's like the slugs just eat the mycelium out of it. But there's some fruiting over here. You know what's funny, Will, is the fact that you're doing a lot of talking for somebody who does videos with no talking. Well, I mean, I like it because, like, you're giving me the information, but I just think it's funny that that's like your choice. It's like, that's what I like to watch, so that's what I'm gonna do. I like it. So these are. Yeah, those are some cold weather shiitakes right there. I just picked some off of those like 3 or 4 days ago, and those popped up already. So how do you know if they're good or bad? I mean, like, how would you? If they're not shiitakes? No, like, oh yeah, but also if like the shiitake is gone too far. Oh yeah, like this one right here. Yeah. Look at the bottom. Like there's slugs will get on it, and so, like a lot of times you split it open, there'll be little holes in it, and worms will be in it. Shiitakes don't get worms in them as quick as like oyster mushrooms do. But now, would that be one of the benefits? Like some people will grow mushrooms in their house, in these like cabinets. Yeah, grow tents is what they do. You have to have humidity, so if you like grow them in your house, you gotta spray them with water, or have a humidifier. I don't know anything about that, but we live in the South, so we got enough humidity. They can just. But I mean, like to keep like for them to last longer, maybe. Is that a benefit? Or? Oh yeah. So the way to store these is you put them in a fridge and something that's not airtight, because they still need to breathe once you pick them. So don't put them in like a plastic container. They produce some sort of chemical that gets in the air and it'll rot them really quickly. But yeah, you just put them in like a breathable container in the fridge. Well, that's good to know for whenever, if we buy mushrooms from the store, like don't. Well, they have breathable containers. Well, I know, but I mean like sometimes whenever we'll cut them up. Yeah, all of them we'll store them. Yeah. So. Yeah, and never eat them raw. Never eat any, like people even eat like portobellos and white button cap mushrooms raw. You shouldn't do that either. No, I'm very skeptical of mushrooms right at this moment. Yeah, cook them all. That's the first shiitakes out of that log that I've gotten. These are kind of new. I hope nobody's up there. These are some old ones, right? Now, how will you know when they're like too old? You know, like, is there a way that you keep track of like, okay, so this one was like 2 years ago, this one's a year ago. Like, do you stagger them in a certain way, or you just? No, I just know. These are only a year old as well. Most of these down here are only a year old. We skipped, I think, 2020, which is a weird year to skip doing this.
Right, about to say.
So those are in 2019, those older ones, and they've been fruiting for a few years. But I've done it like 6 times, and the first 2 times I did it completely wrong, and they didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first time they got too much sun while they were colonizing, they dried out. I did them in the summer. I wouldn't do that in the summer if you don't have a good shady spot for them.
Yeah.
Those dried out, and then the other ones I didn't let colonize or something. Maybe I didn't let the first ones colonize, and the second ones dried out. And then finally I started putting them down here, and it worked out.
Yeah, I got a nice little spot at my house where I don't have like a good running stream, but it's the bottom end of my property.
Yeah.
So it holds a lot of moisture and stuff. So
yeah, this is the bottom. I don't know if people can tell, and this is a temporary spring.
Oh, is it?
It's just been raining a lot, so it's low.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's it.
Back home, back on the homestead, we were actually able to leave with 4 logs, and I happen to have a decent pallet here that I could set them on. So I'm going to take them. We want to set them in a place where it's kind of shaded and moist for now. So I think on the back side of the property over here, kind of where I hunt, would be best, because I don't want to set them over here because that's where we're going to be doing our fence, and I don't have to move them. So for about 6 months, they'll sit on a pallet in a nice shaded area, which will be over here. And then we'll move them and stack them and start making mushrooms. How exciting is that? I'm excited. It was a great time. It was awesome learning how to do this and what to do, and I can't wait to do more. I'm very happy that Will let me leave with a couple mushrooms that way, or a couple logs, inoculated logs. That way we can start our own. And yeah, so let's grab that pallet. We'll move it and move the logs. And here we have it, folks. The start of our first mushrooms. So I grabbed some of the smaller ones because I kind of wanted them to get there a little sooner, but also didn't want to take the big ones because in case Will wanted the big ones. He said I could take whatever I wanted, so I just grabbed the smaller ones. So they'll sit on this pallet. We're definitely in shade, and it's very moist down. It's like this is the bottom part of the property, so they should do quite well. The bigger one in the back will probably take the full 6 months. The 3 smaller ones, he said about 4 to 6 months before they're ready to stack on the ground. You just don't want them sitting. I know he mentioned it in the beginning. You don't want them sitting on the ground because there's mycelium and stuff in the ground that would take over before the stock as well. So, but yeah, I'm excited. This is great because we do love mushrooms, and it's a new skill to learn. So I'm very grateful for Will for teaching us and inviting us over to do this and talking with us. So I appreciate you. I hope you learned something, and we'll catch you in the next one.